Hey folks, I'm JC from One Shot Adventures, and this channel is all about running great one-shot adventures and short campaigns. And today we're diving deep, literally, into another Dungeon Crawl Classics adventure, People of the Pit. Now, Dungeon Crawl Classics adventures are well known for their gonzo settings, over-the-top environments, and dangers that terrify even the most veteran RPG players. But that had to start somewhere, and People of the Pit was one of the very first adventures released for the system, way back in 2012. In this adventure, the PCs journey deep into a hole in the earth, which is the home of a monstrous tentacled beast that awakens every decade and destroys entire villages. People of the Pit is a dungeon crawl, but is it one that stands out? Does it live up to the standards of modern DCC adventures today, with enough weirdness, surprises, and danger to make your players wince in delight? Well, I'm going to answer all of that today. Not only will I give you a full review of People of the Pit, but I'll give you GMs some tips and tricks on how to run this one like a pro. But before we dig in, I'll warn you, there are some serious spoilers ahead. So if you're thinking about playing People of the Pit, you might want to stop here and go hang out with some mineral munchers instead. Okay, that sounds weird, but it'll make sense in a few minutes. Here we go.
The sky's the sky. People of the Pit.
People of the Pit is written by Joseph Goodman from Goodman Games. It's designed for 8 to 10 first-level characters, which if you know DCC, you know many of those poor souls won't be making it out alive. The adventure runs about 30 pages, and it took my group about 3 sessions to get through it. The setup of the adventure is this. For generations, people have made sacrifices to a massive pit beast to keep its rampages at bay. An order of warrior priests used to manage the sacrifices, but eventually the town folks rebelled at the idea of human sacrifices all the time, and the priests were disgraced and forced to retreat into the beast's pit. But now, a decade after the last sacrifice, the pit beast is stirring again, and strange gray-robed men, the people of the pit, have been seen emerging from the ravine, guiding the beast's terrifying tentacles. They have no faces, and they have these long, sinuous arms. Our heroes, the PCs, have set out to explore this great ravine and bring an end to the People of the Pit. The adventure doesn't really provide much more motivation for the players to go visit here, so with my group, I had to add a little bit more for them. While my players love adventure, the idea that they would just go deep into a cursed tentacle-filled pit in the ground was a bit too much to ask. So I said that they had a friend whose daughter had come to explore the pit, and she disappeared, and this plays into the adventure later. And I also said that the founder of the warrior priests was known to keep his cult's most valuable artifacts with him. So the adventurers hoped to rescue their friend and claim the artifacts before that beast woke up. This gave my group a little more motivation. The adventure kicks off at the Sacrificial Bluff, the spot overlooking this 100-foot wide pit. There's a staircase spiraling down into a stinking gray mist. Now this adventure is deadly from the start. It really is best to run this with a larger group of players. For example, just getting down those stairs is dangerous, and a botched agility roll might result in an instant death fall down to the bottom of the pit. Well, I have my spells prepared, my magic wand, my enchanted lantern. There's nothing I'm not prepared for down these stairs. Oh! The pit is split into 4 levels, or 5 if you have the second edition of this module. The primary means of getting between the levels are tentacle transports. Yes, this pit is filled with tentacles and cultists who control it, and the players themselves can ride these tentacles up and down in certain spots of the dungeon like an elevator. It's very metal. The tentacle transports are a little unclear on the map. I wish it made it more obvious, like which areas lead where, so just go ahead and do a little markup on your map and you'll be thankful for it. Level 1 is the biggest level, comprised of about 20 rooms, and here the players will encounter lots of those gray-robed cultists, those weird, faceless beings that used to be the warrior priests who fled into the pit. The cultists aren't human anymore, and they can now chant to summon tentacles to attack. And when they die, a squirming octomass bursts from their bodies and keeps on fighting. Although, truthfully, I found the constantly bursting octomasses a little bit repetitive. So I only had that happen occasionally. If a PC did a tremendous killing blow to a cultist, I said, well, that killed the octomass too, and they'd only really pop out if the PCs barely killed a cultist. These cultists will be the main antagonists in the adventure, although there are a few other monsters to be found, such as spiders and ghosts. My favorite weird creature is this mineral-horned basilisk with horns made from solid gold. Talk about giving your most impulsive players a tough choice.
Hey guys, it's a lizard goat with gold horns. I think we grab it.
There's a literal maze on this level where players have to solve it using a pencil on paper, and if they backtrack, they get shocked. I found this a little gimmicky, but some players might like it. Make sure you print out enough copies of that maze to give each player one. My favorite room on this level is this secret area that's covered from wall to ceiling in red glass shards. The spirit of a cursed acolyte lives in this cave, and he'll appear to mouth a wordless curse on your players. The players can either bury his body to undo that curse, or steal his wand, which is still grasped in his skeletal hand, which allows them to divine the future. This is a really cool and creepy and weird room, and I love how my players always try to figure out that choice between keeping a curse on them for the rest of the adventure or stealing a powerful magic artifact. You can imagine which one they do. Oh, and there's this other wonderful area with a massive talking devil toad that blocks a door with its weight. And he'll speak to the PCs, and if they annoy him, he'll just rip them apart with his psionics. It's just another great encounter that requires your players to roleplay and not just hack and slash through their way through the whole dungeon. As the PCs finish up level 1, they'll notice the cultists have sort of leveled up, and now there's yellow-robed and crimson-robed ones, and these often come with these grotesque crossbreeds of man and the pit beast called Toans, which take half damage from magical weapons, and this last fight on level 1 I find is especially tough for players. I think we lost almost half the party when I played, and they had to return to the surface, get some reinforcements, and head back down. But it's Dungeon Crawl Classic, so that's okay. Level 2 is the cult's workshop, and this is the level where the cult corrupts new members and manufactures their unholy items. This level is filled with meditation chambers, statues of the Toans, sleeping areas, secret labs, and storage rooms. It starts to feel more like a dungeon here. There's a great area on level 2 where the cultists process the pit beast's discarded suckers. Oh, and this is a fun battle as characters can push and slam each other into these giant furnaces. One of my players was killed in this room, and we still tease him that he died via pizza oven. Hey guys, look at this furnace. I bet we could cook some nice flatbreads in there. I mean, it's really hot. There's another tentacle elevator on this level, and a grinding wheel powered by chain slaves who are grinding more suckers. These slaves can be freed and potentially join the party. I love it when adventures include easy ways to insert backup characters, and you'll need them in this adventure. Level 3 is the Holy Sanctuary. It's centered around these incubation stations. Here, the yellow-robed senior cultists tend to the sacred eggs of the pit beast Palimdibus, which are spliced with human blood to grow the Toans. PCs will find eggs in all stages of development, from embryos to ones days away from hatching. It's very alien and creepy and strange. And finally, the PCs will reach the base of the ravine on the final 4th level. This level is home to these mutant creatures, the gray-skinned, eyeless people of the pit. They're stunted and ape-like, covered in tiny pseudopods, and seem to share a mental connection with the pit beast. And weirdly, they don't even seem to eat, but instead they subsist by dissolving minerals. Ugh, mineral munches. The bottom of the ravine includes these strange gardens with geometric mineral columns guarded by the mineral munchers. PCs can also explore the homes of the pit people, these huts, and potentially find some with captured villagers who can be rescued. And some have some small amounts of treasure like gold and some diamonds. The adventure culminates at the edge of the cliff overlooking the coiled mass of Polymdibus, the enormous pit beast. The party faces the blue-robed cult leader, the main antagonist and the highest-ranking cultist. He's got unique powers over the beast, and of course, in true pulp style, he and his friends are dragging a virgin sacrifice towards the cliff edge, and I made that the girl that the PCs were originally looking for when they headed into the pit. This final encounter is what I like to call a plate-spinning encounter, where the players have to save the sacrifice while battling the cult leader and fending off the tentacles. There's just too much to do in too little time. The blue robe leader, of course, controls these tentacles that lash out, and when cultists or pit people die, I say the tentacles come out and drag their bodies into the depths. It's just a frantic, dangerous, and very Dungeon Crawl Classics end to the adventure. And when the blue-robed cultist is finally killed, Polymdibus thrashes wildly, demolishing the entire ravine, and rubble rains down but clears a path, allowing the players to race out towards the end. This is also a very dangerous ending to the adventure. I've had some players die as they get crushed by debris as they race out of the pit, so maybe give them a turn or two to get a head start before all the damage really starts. I'll also add, if you have the more recent printing of the adventure, it includes a 5th level called Assassins of the Pit, which you can insert into the adventure. It's built around the cult's grandfather assassin, this disgorged octomass named Joachim. Joachim. It's well done, adds to the lore, but I'd say only included if your players are just loving this adventure and want lots more tentacles. I found with the 4 levels, players had kind of gotten enough of this environment and story, but if they love it, go ahead and add the assassins in. So, what do I think of People of the Pit? I'll weigh it against my 4 criteria for judging great dungeon adventures. Great dungeon adventures have a strong mix of encounters. Nobody wants to fight the same bad guys again and again and again in a dungeon. Here, the adventure gets an okay grade. In fact, when I first ran this adventure, and this was one of the first DCC adventures I ran, my players were yearning for more than cultist battles, especially on level 1 where that's happened a few times. The deeper levels get more interesting, but as a GM, it's really important that you describe the cultists a little differently to really differentiate them. Like maybe one is covered in insects and seems to be rotting away, while another one has a tentacle-like tail on them. You really just have to make them feel a little bit different just so the players don't get tired of them. Second, a great dungeon is set in an environment that itself tells a story. This is especially critical in a dungeon adventure because there aren't a lot of NPCs around to carry a narrative. And here's where People of the Pit shines. The ravine, the mist, the ancient stairs, the altars, the workshops, the incubation chambers, the mutants. Like, it all tells a horrifying story of the cult's corruption and worship of this ancient alien entity. As you go deeper into the pit, the story sort of unfolds. And it's nice to have some NPCs in there, like the villagers and that strange demon frog that the PCs can interact with, so they're not just killing things the entire time. Third, it's really important that dungeons give the GM some tools to play with, just so they have something to do more than describe a room and hope the PCs navigate it. Think about tools that let the GM push the players along or give them a break from combats, just things for them to do besides just going room to room to room. And People of the Pit gives player good opportunities to meet NPCs like captured priests, villagers, and the tentacles can be used to harass or even help the players at times. And some of the villains here can even be negotiated with, so you can give information to players if you want to kind of hurry them along or you want to send them into a trapped area. So overall, yes, this adventure gives GMs options and details for various scenarios. Finally, I think the best dungeons have a twist or a really memorable set piece. more than just unremarkable corridors and halls. I think about some of the best dungeons I've played in and those moments that you just never forget, like the Medusa surprising the players in Keep on the Borderlands, or the gaping maw in Tomb of Horrors that will disintegrate players. Here, People of the Pit also gets a good but not great grade. I don't think there's any one moment in the dungeon that really stands out. It's very well themed, but nothing really pops. But I will say the ending is strong. That race to save the maiden, battling the cult, fending off the tentacles, and the entire place collapsing. It's a very epic ending that your players will remember, even if it takes them 4 levels to really get to it. And I will emphasize, and this is true of all DCC adventures, but especially this one, it is deadly, with instant death pits, poisoning spiders, tough monsters, and cultists throwing you into pizza ovens. But People of the Pit also rewards smart play and using the environment, and I love the shortcuts that it includes to avoid dangers. I like that clever players can eventually figure out how to start controlling the tentacles themselves with magic, and that unlocks a totally different style of game once they do that. If there's a single weakness to the adventure, it's that the beginning is a little slow, with those cultists as the main enemy for a while, and there's also not great treasures to be had if that matters to your players. There's some gold and a magic weapon or two, but nothing unique or really cool like you'd find in a modern DCC adventure. So as a GM, you may want to create something yourself. I created a wand that the players could find that could summon a tentacle from the earth, but also has a chance of going wild and attacking everyone with abandon. Just something to feel like they got something cool out of this adventure. But overall, People of the Pit is still a very strong Dungeon Crawl Classics adventure. It's got the weirdness, the danger, the open-ended exploration, and that epic pulp finale. If you want a classic feeling dungeon crawl that's anything but generic, it throws you some strange monsters at your players and isn't afraid to kill characters, this one deserves a place at your table. If you've run or played in People of the Pit, let me know how it went. Did your players survive the pit? Did anyone get shoved into a furnace? Did they save the sacrifice at the end? Share your war stories in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this review and want to see more like it, then stab that like and subscribe buttons like you would a gray-robed cultist. Until next time, I'm JC, and just remember, if you're a GM and manage to kill off one of your players in a pizza oven, just take a moment and cherish that. It's really special.
Now it comes, the might unseen, playing the perils of the obscene.